From recruiting and consulting firm Riderflex, I'm your host, Steve Urban, and here is your Riderflex podcast episode of the day. Okay, cool.
Kudos.
All right, we'll get rolling here, and just super casual. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Varun Balan on the Riderflex podcast. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being here. I'm looking at your product and studying you this morning, having some coffee, getting ready for the podcast. And I'm like, oh shit, Riderflex needs this product. I think, I don't know. He says small business. I'm a small business and we don't have any financial modeling ready. And we've had a few phone calls with people saying with interest. And I'm like, okay, maybe we should, this is good. This is gonna be a good interview. We might need the product ourselves. Anyway, appreciate you being on the show. Before we get into the business, tell me about the person. Give me some personal background, family, etc.
Yeah, of course. So, I'm a Colorado native. I was actually born and raised in Colorado Springs. Lived there and grew up there till I was 18. I went to school in Philadelphia then at the University of Pennsylvania. I studied political economy and applied math there. Then I actually worked in New York for 7 years. I worked on Wall Street in investment banking and private equity, where kind of learned the skills for my business, which we'll get into. And then I moved back to Denver here actually 3.5 years ago, and it's been great to be back. I love Colorado. I love the people, and it's just nice to be back home.
Tell me about your family a little bit. What'd your mom and dad do?
Yeah, so my dad was actually a business owner. He ran a software company where his main customer was the federal and state governments. He did software for like disaster relief and disasters like FEMA, that kind
Oh,
of stuff.
oh,
So he built a company around that. And then my mom has been in the defense industry for the last, like, her whole career, basically. She's worked at like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Honeywell, Raytheon, like just you name them. And yeah, she's a quality assurance engineer there for different, I guess, weaponry that they work on.
gotcha. Okay, so the entrepreneurial bug came from your dad a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, it came from my dad, and then I've had some other family members who have just done pretty well as entrepreneurs. So I kind of saw that growing up, just older cousins and stuff, and I figured I'd always do it. I think it was a good combination of what I like and what I'm good at. So yeah.
So, okay, so how come you're not working for your dad's company? Why not take that over?
Oh, I wish, right? Unfortunately, there were some issues there. He had some partners, some executive officers who stole money from the company and stuff
Oh,
like that. I know, right? So that actually put the knife in the heart for that business. But
mhm.
things were changing too, because his business really did well in the 80s and 90s, and then things started changing in the late 90s with the internet and all that. So I feel like he was already getting a little behind. But then that kind of like that was the kiss of death.
But he's probably calling you all the time saying, hey, make sure you watch out for this, make sure you watch out for that, right?
Oh, he definitely is. But he's happy. He is retired. He before COVID, he was like swimming every morning at the local
Okay.
rec center and
Any
reading
brother,
books.
any brothers or sisters?
Unfortunately not. Just me,
No
just
wonder
me
you
and
were no
then
wonder you were a 4.6 student in high school. Your parents were just on you the whole time.
no, thanks. No, it's funny. They're actually pretty nice to me. I think I did it more for myself, They really weren't after me for anything. I don't think they even cared, weirdly.
Really, really.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, obviously you did really well in high school. To get into Penn, you know, not Penn State, but to get into
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. I mean, that's a tough school, right? It's not considered Ivy League
It's
officially, or is
Ivy.
it? Oh,
It's an
it
Ivy
is
League
Ivy.
school,
Okay, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
because it
I should.
it's a school it's Ben Franklin's school, basically. Ben Franklin
Oh,
started the
okay.
school, and yeah. So yeah. No, it was great. I chose the school because they had a lot of good um, you know, interdisciplinary programs. So I did one between political economy and
I
business
saw
kind of,
that.
and then applied
Saw that.
math. So it was cool to kind of do two different study two different things that really interested me.
Did you
And
ever
that
make
was
a
a
B?
big draw for
Did you
me.
ever make a B? Did you ever get a B or C?
Oh, I mean, in college, of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was, I went from, I think, it was very competitive. So I definitely did in college.
Okay.
Not in
Okay.
high school, though. High school was straight A's.
So
More or less.
college, you let your hair down just a little bit sometimes.
Let my hair down, but it was also harder, right? It was much harder.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So anyway, so do you know what you want to do at this point? I mean, as far as career wise, were you like, I want to start a company and be a CEO, or did you have any aspirations when you were going to school?
I think I always wanted to be an entrepreneur and a business owner and
Okay.
eventually run my own company.
Okay.
And I think, just going to Penn, I think was gonna help me at least have the right education and background to then, kind of work in the jobs I wanted that I thought would really help me be a business owner. That's kind of the
Okay.
reason I went to Wall Street. It
I
wasn't to
see.
build a career in high finance. It was really to understand how companies at that level are managed and how the capital markets work, and really like the equivalent of what it, of working in Wall Street for a few years in investment banking. It's like boot camp for Fortune 5,000. That's kind of how they equate it. So everybody kind of does that rite of passage if they want to
Yeah.
play in that space. So I did my time there, and it was great. I learned. It was really hard. I mean, I worked like grueling hours, and it was difficult, but I think I probably got, in my 4 years of work experience there, I think I feel like I got like 10 to 15 years of normal work experience, which is kind
How,
of nice.
how did that feel coming from Colorado Springs, wide open spaces, big mountains, to all of a sudden you're living in a 400 square foot apartment in tiny New York and feeling crammed? How was that?
Oh, it was very difficult, right? I wasn't able to do much outdoors, mainly because I work so much, but also, it's a concrete jungle there, right?
Yeah.
And when you're not working all the time, people are going out, drinking, dancing, things you do in the city, right?
Yeah.
And it was a shock, right? I think it was a shock coming from a suburban place where people are nice to each other and have interests, to like a very competitive kind of alpha personality type city where everyone is just hustling, bustling, moving. So it was different. It was definitely a little bit of a culture shock in the beginning.
Oh, I bet. No wonder. So were you telling yourself, I'm going back to Colorado eventually? That was the plan.
Yeah, I think I always knew I was gonna leave New York. I just, I didn't really know when. So, when the right time came, I kind of just was like, you know what, it's time to move,
Okay. Okay.
go
And
back
tell me
home.
about that. You moved to Colorado and started your own consulting business. Is that what happened?
Yeah, so I'd started the business when I was in New York, actually. And it's just I could work from anywhere kind of, and more of my customers actually were not in the New York area. They were in really Texas, actually, Texas, California, a few here. And because I could work from anywhere, I kind of decided just to move back to Colorado just to be closer to family and
Okay.
friends, and just have a better life. I enjoy the outdoors, so just overall have a better life.
Totally get it, bro. I mean, geez, Colorado's hard to beat. You know how many people I interview for this podcast, and they've lived all around the world, different countries, states, and they end up right back in Colorado so often. So
Yeah.
get it. I totally get it. Financial modeling became kind of your expertise, though.
Yeah, I think just by virtue of what my initial jobs were,
Okay.
my first job, I did do investment banking at JP Morgan, so that's kind of where the skill set was built, refined. Then my job after that in private equity, again, very financial modeling heavy job. So, kept refining that skill set. And then eventually when I left Wall Street, I actually started my business doing the same type of work, that financial modeling work, for small and medium-sized businesses. So
Okay.
my business started in 2015 originally as just a consulting business,
Hmm.
doing financial modeling.
By yourself, right? Alone.
Yeah, by myself. I had a partner, my co-founder Sylvester, also a very smart guy. I met him when we were both analysts at JP Morgan.
Okay. So he was your partner in that first business in the consulting firm. Is he still around now in your new company?
Uh, yep, he is. He's still my partner. We're still working together, and things are going great. So
All right.
can't
So
complain.
tell us about that transition. Then you're doing Rocky Mountain Innovations, which is this consulting firm with your partner. You spend almost 5 years doing it. Let me guess. At some point, you're like, we need to also make this some sort of a tech play, or
Yeah,
something like that.
pretty much. I mean, you kind of nailed it on the head. What we realized was, the work we were doing, financial modeling, and then kind of what you get out of financial modeling is, you can project how your company's doing. you can really use it for financial planning and analysis, FP&A. So how are we doing versus how we should be doing? What's that difference every month? And then financial modeling is used for other things like, investor reporting, executive,
Hmm. Hmm.
management and reporting, understanding how much your company's worth over time based on its financial performance, and then benchmarking to, other, competitors or bellwethers in the industry. So just that whole tool of having a financial model leads to all these 4 or 5 different kind of areas that are really used in corporate development. And I know that because I saw that in Wall Street, and Fortune 5,000 companies and Wall Street professionals, they all have access to these tools because everybody is trained that way, and it's almost like ivory tower knowledge that just kind of sits, in the ivory tower. So, what we're doing with our company is, initially, like I said, we were doing consulting, the same type of work on Wall Street, but for smaller businesses. Now we realized we could automate a lot of it, is what we realized, thanks to advances in machine learning. So we actually built a technology that allows companies to really easily build financial models, three-statement financial models, and kind of get all those benefits that I just described, the same as a Fortune 5,000 company, just using our technology platform. So, that was kind of the evolution of the company from, me seeing all of this on Wall Street and doing it myself, to me doing it for smaller businesses, to then me and my co-founder really building technology that lets anyone do it.
Mm.
So that's kind of where we're at, and we're really trying to just democratize that type of work, financial modeling and understanding of, how your company works and operates the way the big guys do, taking that and really bringing it to any kind of business, even if it's a small business like my father had, or like, Sylvester's father had. So it's really
Hmm.
democratization of knowledge that is in an ivory tower right now.
And does that replace my need for a CFO or a finance expert to run financial modeling and do valuations for me and things? Does it replace if I'm a $2 million company? Can I use your product without having a CFO?
That's a great question. I actually would say I'd only recommend it if you're doing at least 2 or 3 million plus, and it actually is a supplement to the CFO, director of finance, or controller. So all it's going to do is make their life a lot better for certain
Okay.
aspects of the job.
Okay.
Because these guys don't want to spend their time, manually copying and pasting numbers from like one format to another, and just stuff that's
Mm.
really painful and awful. We
Hmm.
eliminate a lot of that, especially with financial planning and analysis, the budget versus actual, if you will. So, we really automate that whole thing and make it easy for them. And then the other components that come through our, through our technology, it just meant is a supplement to for these professionals, right? Because if you're a CFO, controller, director of finance, you're a very smart, capable person, right? This isn't
Hmm.
meant to, like, replace your job in quotes. It's meant so that the terrible parts of your day to day are eliminated, and you can focus on other things with this supporting you in those kind of painful functions that you would be wasting a lot of your time on, right? Because
Mm.
I
All the
don't
stuff all the work I've seen from CFOs on things like this are either, they're spitting it out on Excel or PowerPoints, right? I mean, it's,
exactly.
I mean, that's it. And then they all have
Yeah.
little templates saved that they use over and over. In this case, it's software that you plug data into and then it spits it out in a prettier, easier, quicker fashion that you can also let you can, like, if you own a business, you can let your investors look into it, or if you're an investor, I mean, you can let different parties look into the system and give them
Yes.
access to it. Okay.
Exactly. Anyone can see it online. And then kind of the
Okay.
key differentiator for us is we're really automating the whole three statements: income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. So typically that's like that takes, hours, days, weeks in Excel to do properly. We can do that in an instant just from bringing in the financials, really in any way, whether it's PDF, CSV, QuickBooks, Zero, whatever you have. We bring it in, structured in a way that's meaningful using machine learning, and then from there, we let the user, whether it's CFO, controller, whoever, really project the company based on operational drivers. So, for
Mm,
example,
mm,
if they want to project revenue growth, they can project it as a percent over prior years. with those historicals coming in also and showing what the
Mhm.
prior year's growth was. But separately, they're able to have the option to adjust, based on, maybe the business is, maybe it's a consulting business and they're doing number of hours and they charge an hourly price. You can adjust your revenue driver to that then instead of just a percent growth. And that's kind of the key differentiator. We let you do that for every single driver for the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. So you can really build a bespoke, comprehensive model for your company that actually reflects, the underlying business in a way that you normally wouldn't be able to do unless you're an Excel wizard. So that's really the beauty of what we've built.
Will it kick out valuations for me as well?
Yep, it'll kick out valuations.
Mm,
Yeah, that's part
Can
of
I
it.
can I give you the valuation number and then it back into all the rest of the numbers?
Well, it could back into what you'd need to hit. We
Yeah.
actually we could do that actually. We don't do it yet, but that's an application. Yeah, we do
Okay.
it the other way. We take your numbers and then
Yeah, I
based on
hear you.
what they are, we
Yeah, but that doesn't come up to the number I think Riderflex is worth, though. That's the problem.
well,
Where's it? Is there a goodwill? Is there what they call goodwill? Is there a goodwill number where I can just bump it up to what I need it to be?
I mean, honestly, most companies are valued as a multiple of EBITDA. So depending on what your EBITDA is and what industry you're in, those are really the
Mhm.
biggest drivers for your company's valuation.
What
That
if
so
I've
we
been?
do that, and we
What if?
triangulate in a few ways. But yeah,
What if I've been driving my EBITDA to break even, so I don't have to pay any taxes on crap, and so I've been buying shit at the last minute to break even. But so how do I know what
that's
my
net
true
income, I
valuation is?
think. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you're a good business owner if you do that. Anyone whose net income is zero or negative is smart. That's
Okay. Hey.
you're doing it right then. But EBITDA can still be pretty positive, and that's kind of where that's what they value it on. And
Okay.
EBITDA is not it's not a it's not a gap metric, so it's not one of the standards, but everybody uses it. So
Let me ask you: is this a like a SaaS model? I pay a one-time fee, a monthly fee. How do I do this?
yeah, so it's a SaaS model. People usually commit to the contract terms are usually 1 year upfront, but then people are paying on a monthly basis, but they've committed to a year.
What happens if I commit to a year and I pay 2 months and I run out of cash?
Then we'll make it work. We'll make it work. We'll pause it. We'll wait till things are better. We'll help you get more cash. How about that? We'll try to boost the business. It's the whole point of the
uh,
software, right?
Yeah, no, I'm just giving you hell. So many people do that. A 1-year contract, but pay us monthly, which means it's month to month, and like,
Yeah.
kind of. Okay, all right, very good. Why would I? Yeah, why would I need it if I just need evaluation, or if I want a 3-year financial model that I don't have, one-time deal? Why would I need it all year?
Really great question. I think it's for the other benefits that come with it. Really being able to manage your business monthly,
Okay,
that projected versus actual, that FP&A, that's a pretty important process. Most companies that, are growing and are concerned about growth, they're doing that every month. So just having that cadence and discipline for having that kind of process, even though it's automated and it takes almost none of your time because of our tech, you still should do it, right? So that others in your team know if they're performing every month and if you're hitting goals or not. So just having that discipline, financial and operational discipline, I think is very important. And then that alone will let you track other things too. Like it'll let you track and understand if you're hitting the valuations you eventually want to hit, track and see how you're doing compared to competitors. And really like just creating operational and financial discipline around your growth plan. And that's very critical. That's something that big companies are very good at doing that small business owners never do.
yeah, we'll just take a pause right there. You're absolutely right. I mean, would be willing to bet that 90% of small businesses across the country are running what I call the checkbook model, which means they look in the checking account and they're like, okay, cool, we still have some cash. Let's keep going.
Yeah, no, really. I actually believe that. And at an early stage, it's hard, right? It's hard to really do this kind of stuff until you're past, I would at least say the 1.5 million revenue mark.
You know why that is because before you're hitting a million, you're just all you care about is revenue and closing deals and getting cash in the bank because you're just trying to stay alive for the next week. And that's
Yeah.
why, and then somebody's like, oh, we need to sit down and prepare a financial model. And you're like, what? you're like, what the hell are you talking about, man? I'm just trying to close this contract tomorrow so we can put this check in the bank so I can. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's
right.
why that happens, right? I mean, all joking aside, that's why that happens because
Yeah,
you're hustling that early business.
it's true.
Even for our company, Riderflex, and other small businesses that I've been a part of before. Yeah, that's what happens. You're in the early stages. You're just trying to stay alive. You have no idea if you're going to make it the next 90 days. Somebody wants you to build like a PowerPoint with stuff on it, and you're like, what are you talking about, bro? I'm busy right now. I got to go to a sales meeting.
No, I hear you, and it's true. That's how it is. I mean, I'm a small business too. We're a small company too, so we're right there with you. I mean, obviously we use a process too because we built the tech, right? If we don't use our own technology, that's a bad sign. But it's it really you really have to be doing at least like I would say
Yeah,
2-3 revenue. But
I
yeah,
agree. Yeah, I agree. We at Riderflex, after we got north of 1 million, we kind of, and we probably, like you said, maybe it should be 2-3 million. But after we got north of
yeah.
1 million, that's when we were like, okay, this is a real business. We better get our shit together.
Yeah, because it really is a real business then, right? Like, and
Yep.
once you've hit kind of that million, you can really grow it. Like if you do it
Yes.
right, there's no reason you can't be at, like 5-10 million over the next few years.
Yeah. Agreed. No, I totally agree. Okay. So I sign up for a month. I pay. How much is it?
It's $1,000 a month, just for
1,000 bucks a
small
month.
businesses. Yeah.
It's not. It's one size fits all price.
That's for most small businesses, I end up giving them everything for just $1,000 just because I want them to get the full benefit. But we
Hmm.
have pricing tiers where there's one plan that's 1,000, then the next plan up's like 2,500, the next plan up is 5,000, then there's an enterprise model. But the real
Ah.
difference between the plans is how many companies you can connect to. That's the kind of the
Ah.
key
Ah.
difference. So like for a small business, it would just be one company, but I have some customers who are small accounting firms and accountants, and they're connecting multiple companies.
Ah.
Same with fractional CFOs, those kind of folks. They're using it to really
Mm.
enhance their own advisory practice and add more advisory work to other stuff that they do. So that's been
I like.
another interesting
Mm.
business model
Mm.
too.
Are there competitors in this space for you? Is it a huge sea of competition, or what's that look like?
Really great question. So there's the space is pretty new. It's a new space. Our competitors, there's three of them, but they're all early. So one of them raised $12 million last summer. They've been around
Mm.
since I guess 2017, and then the other two they just literally existed as of last year, and they both raised Silicon Valley companies. They both raised $5 million each last October and September. So we're kind of like the fourth entrant into like the market, or not entrant, but like the fourth player in the market.
Mm.
But we have a very different approach to how we're solving the problem, which is we're using machine learning to build three-statement financial models to do all the stuff I mentioned. And that's simply because when we look at all the founders of those other companies, they don't have a background in Wall Street, in financial modeling, in financial planning and analysis. So they don't really know how the big companies do that. So
Mm.
what we're
Mm.
doing is we're taking what's been done by the big guys and how they do it, and then just bringing it to everybody else. The other guys are more focused on just connecting different input sources, like connecting to like QuickBooks, HubSpot, all that. They're more of like connectors rather than actual financial modeling tools, I would say.
And are you guys raising cash?
We're going to start raising capital, I think, at some point soon. Once we get closer to like probably I'd say, 50K a month in revenue, we'll probably start raising then just because we'll get better terms, I think.
Mm. Okay. Have you raised cash before personally for
Yeah,
a bit?
yeah.
Okay.
We raised money from an angel investor. He was a partner at Motley Fool Ventures. That's a venture arm of the Motley Fool guys, the
Oh,
publication, finance publication.
you raised that for this business, RMI
For
Insights.
for RMI Insights. Yep. Yep.
Oh,
It
so
was a small
okay.
angel round about a
Okay.
year and a half ago.
Besides the money that you and your partner put in bootstrapping it.
Yep. That's it. That's all. It was us bootstrapping it, and then the money he put in, which really let us go from kind of what we had before, which is I'd say the non-machine learning, version of the product, to now everything's machine learning and it's cutting edge. So it
It-
really brought our business kind of to the next level.
Let me guess, you used that angel money to pay the developers to get the product built.
Oh yeah, yeah. I had to, I did a little bit of it myself, but then yeah, we used it to hire machine learning engineers and other folks to really
Yeah.
help build it. Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, you're obviously a super smart numbers guy, but you're not. Yeah, I get it. Okay, so that's where some of the cash went.
yeah.
All right, and then of course you were making some cash from your consulting firm, and you probably had some cash saved up from that to
Oh
kind
yeah.
of survive on this deal. Are you paying yourself yet?
I'm paying myself, but I pay myself the state minimum of $36,000 a year, and most of it just goes to savings and 401k match and all that, right?
Well, how are you
But
paying your mortgage? How are you paying your mortgage and eating then? You must have had some savings.
the company covers my rent for right now, which because I did it as a lease for the business, so
Speaking,
small business
yeah.
owner tactic, had to do it. Lease
But
between
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but yeah. By the way, if you're listening to this episode, didn't mean to interrupt you there, but yeah, if you're a small business, you better be running everything through your expense line that you legally can.
Oh yeah.
I mean that is just the smartest thing you can do. Yeah. Okay. So, all right, I cut you off there. I didn't mean to.
No, everything that
So
I can write off as an expense, I do. You have to as a small business owner. Yeah, I'm sure you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
oh, I the first year we ran Riderflex, I had some advisory board members that met with us the second year, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" He's like, Your internet, your phone, you're this, you're that, you're that, your car, whatever, your insurance." It's like, "What are you doing? All this stuff runs through the business. What's wrong with you?" So,
It's true. It's true though.
okay, so you're surviving, but it's tough right now. Little ramen noodles here and there. So not, you're not paying yourself a bunch, but you're sacrificing, you're putting in the sweat equity to get this thing going.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just, I could pay myself more obviously, but the money we generate in revenue, I use it to build the team, right? We have
Mm,
4 full-time engineers.
ah,
I just hired somebody to help with marketing part-time. And then, I just hired another firm to help us with, kind of sales outreach, really through LinkedIn. So, instead of paying myself, it's money that, is just going to grow the business, right?
we were in our fifth year at Riderflex before I finally paid myself more than we were paying, paying the recruiters and some of the employees. My wife kept saying, Jesus Christ, she's like, "I know you're having fun with this thing, but can we like, please, can you please start making decent money again?"
That's funny. No, and that's why that's the mark of a great business owner like you, right? Like, you built the business, right? And you
Yep.
prioritize yourself kind of your salary was last. And that's kind of how I feel too. That's how I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. Now, eventually you gotta, for your family's sake, right? For your own retirement family's sake, eventually you have to start paying yourself decently. But yeah, those first few years, you're probably going to be the smallest, salary on the team, especially if you're having to pay developers like you are. I mean, those
Oh
guys, those
yeah.
guys ain't working for $36,000 a year. I
Oh
can
yeah,
assure
I'll
you.
tell you that. Yeah, they're definitely not. Yeah, those guys are expensive, man.
Even when you try to talk to a software engineer these days, when you're like, "Hey, listen, man, I got this great deal. It's got a ton of early equity stake. If you take the smaller salary," software engineers are like, "Bro, I got like 10 recruiters calling me every day with offering me a bunch of money. I don't need to do that." So it's hard to get them on an equity deal too. You can, but it's tougher, especially for
Yeah.
developers. One of the
Yeah.
hardest positions in the country to recruit for right now. Okay, so how big's the team?
It's yeah, so it's 4, I guess, excluding myself, it's 4 full time. Then my co-founder also, I'm not including him either. So it's me, him, the engineering team of 4 guys, then part-time person for marketing, and then a firm that's just helping us with like kind of call it lead gen, demand gen on LinkedIn.
Lead, yeah, yeah, yeah. Good. Okay. All right. Very good. So you're growing it and you're moving along. Do you care to tell me? So you said you'll do $500,000 this year?
Yeah, I think we should do $500,000 this year. We have some good partnerships that are in the works with some, local companies here. Actually, we're pretty excited for. I think we'll be working with the Colorado Society of CPAs over the next
Okay.
month. We're kind of closing that partnership, so that'll be exciting. That'll hopefully get 7,000 accountants and CPAs, at least who have access to our platform. Then hopefully they use it. So we're excited. We have a lot of growth on the near term horizon, and I think this will be a great year for us,
Who,
honestly.
who- who's your biggest client so far?
It's a company out of Texas. They basically they design telecommunication, I guess, equipment.
Is it one of these logos I'm looking at on your website?
Which one? It might be. I don't know if it's. I don't even know if it's on the website. But yeah, it's a thing. I don't think he's on the website. I should probably
Were,
put him.
were some of your early clients like people you knew and you're like, hey man, I'm starting this company. I need to come pitch it to you.
But it's it's funny. When I originally did the consulting business, we didn't know anybody. It was all referrals. It's like I worked with one guy, and then he referred me to other people. It's actually a lot of people in Texas. That's why I love Texas. They're very pro business there. They give good
Oh, they are.
referrals.
Yep. No doubt about it. Yep.
Yeah, so it was a lot of just referral, and then now that our product's built and working properly, I've just reached out to people again and been like, hey, you've worked with us, do you want to try our product? And the answer is normally like, yeah, we definitely want to try it.
What's your favorite part of the job right now as an early stage CEO? Do you enjoy the leadership of the small team the most, selling the product and landing a big client? The tech piece of it with helping the developers build the product. What's your favorite part of your day right now as an early stage CEO?
Gosh, it's a very deep and hard question. I think it's because every day's so different, right? Like yesterday, I was completely focused on digital marketing. And then today was a big focus on the product. Just every day is a little different. So honestly, I think I like just the balance of being able to kind of do all of it right now and just kind of like have my hands wet in all the different areas. But
Yeah.
I think the most fun for me out of all of them is probably connecting with a customer that really sees the value for what we've built, and then closing that deal. And I think as I've kind of progressed in I guess my own personal career, I've learned that right, it's kind of happened that over time I've become less and less technical into the product and more focused on really just like as a leader, I guess, really just communicating with a lot of different people, whether it's my own employees or potential or like current investors, potential investors, potential partners, potential, small business customers, potential distributors, whoever. It's become a big exercise of figuring out really the right way to communicate, the business and the offerings more than anything else. So
I
I think that's been a
really
good learning lesson.
I really appreciate you bringing that up. This is great advice for the listeners. Yeah, if you're building a product that's designed to sell to small business, so let's just take, I don't know, a farm and machinery company in Texas that sells backhoes and bulldozers, and they do, I don't know, $20 million a year. And the founder is still involved and he's 65 years old and he grew up in Tyler, Texas. You better know how to talk to him and you better know how to approach his style if you're going to close the deal, right?
Right.
Because if you come at him with a New York speed,
Oh yeah.
you're just going to kill it. You're going to kill it.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's not going to happen then, right?
Yeah, it's very important to know your audience and to pitch your service or your product properly to small business owners, especially when they're the founders that have killed themselves to build it. I mean, it's really just such a different conversation. You're meeting with the founder of a $20 million business that has killed himself and sacrificed everything to get it to where it's at. And when you're talking to him, there's a passionate piece of that conversation that you need to connect with to be able to close the deal. It's so much different than talking to a CEO of a publicly owned
Oh yeah.
billion
Oh
dollar
yeah.
company. It's just a complete different conversation.
Oh, completely different, right? Because it's like a founder versus, honestly, I hate to say it, but like an employee almost, right?
Right.
Because that I mean, grant he's CEO, but he's still technically an employee of a giant company, right?
Yep. Totally agree. Okay. So love what you're doing. Love the size of the organization so far. You talked about the competition and the bootstrapping of it all. What's the scariest moment for you so far? Have you had a couple of night sweats, 3
Oh
a.m. walking
yeah,
around?
of course, everybody has, right? I'm sure you have too with Riderflex.
Yes.
Probably back in the
Yes.
day.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I think it was just, it's about around revenue, right? It's like, oh shit, like, am I going to make enough money to like cover expenses this month?
Uh-huh.
Next month, like, oh God, like, what if the money isn't there? Like, what do I do? Like, how do I, make ends meet?
Yep.
The same kind of issues I think all of us have faced. So, those issues are still there. It's just, you got to figure out ways to make ends meet and to really generate revenue, right? Especially especially in this environment. So, and I think we've done a better job of that. And, you know, I think COVID has hurt a lot of industries, right? Like, you know, like retail, unless you're Amazon, is basically gone. But you know, other industries that are, you know, more tech enabled, I think they've benefited. So I think we're fortunately in that latter group. So we're actually we've benefited, you know, kind of because of this, because things have digitally transformed more and people have gone more towards that. So that's been, you know,
Mm,
helpful. But you know, at the end of the day, it's still generating revenue. It's not easy, right? No matter who you
no,
are.
no matter who you are. And when you're a small business, especially like yours, you know, somebody has to hustle the business. I was just having this conversation with a couple of other entrepreneurial CEOs of smaller companies, and they're like, look, you know, we can have all of the fancy stuff on the website, and we can have a cause and a mission, and we can have all this fancy verbiage, and we can have all this shit on here. It sounds really cool. But if we ain't out there closing deals, none of this shit happens. Like somebody's got to generate the revenue.
It's true. No, it's true. That's why sales is the lifeblood of the business, right?
Yes. I mean, somebody's got to close the deals. Any quick, if you had to give some entrepreneurial advice to anybody listening to this episode, thinking about starting something, what are there two or three things you want to tell them right now?
Yeah, of course.
Besides, you better hustle your ass off to close revenue.
I think the biggest things I'd say is, you know, at least at my circle of friends, you know, who went to Penn with me and all these smart people, they all are so smart. And a lot of people in the circles always talk about starting their own business. And they're like, you know, I'll start at some time. Maybe, you know, I need to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C. I don't think there's like a perfect time for you to start a business. I
Yeah.
think you just have to like make a candid assessment of your, you know, your life and where you're at, and then you just take the plunge, right? You know, there's no perfect time for ever starting a business. So I wouldn't romanticize that idea that you need to have like all these prerequisites to start a business.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big one. And then I think also too, it's just, you know, it's hard and it's demanding. So when you do start your business, you should be passionate about what you're doing. You know, so you got to be passionate about what you're doing, and then obviously it's easier too if you have some experience, right? Like, you know, for
Mhm.
example, like if I had started a business because of my background in Wall Street and tech, you know, fintech was kind of natural for me for, you know, for my first business, right? But if I had started, I don't know, like a flower company, probably wouldn't have worked, right? Because I don't know anything about flowers. I'm not even sure I'm passionate about flowers. You know, it would have probably flopped, right? So
Yep.
I think you need to have a good mix of passion plus some prior experience for whatever you do want to do.
Good advice. Really good advice. Wrapping up here, I want to ask you, if you wrap up miscellaneous questions, what are your thoughts these days on the social media aspect of business owners and CEOs, like speaking out on social media, taking sides on social issues or political stances, and like, okay, you know, here's a big argument going on in the country, and we believe green versus blue or whatever.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on CEOs and companies like doing that? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. You know, I'm not huge on social media. I don't even have a Twitter. I have a LinkedIn, which I think is very valuable for me, really just
Hmm.
for, you know, connecting with people, professional network, all that. But
Hmm.
you know, as someone who's not actively like, you know, involved in all of that, I think it's fine to voice your opinion. You know, but if you're like an established like leader, like if you're like Elon Musk or someone, you shouldn't be saying things that can like move the market, or that, you know, because that's illegal, right? Or basically it
Yeah.
should be, or things that may benefit you, uh, but you know, hurt a lot of normal people, right? I don't
Mm,
think that's fair either. And
mm,
I think a lot of these tech guys who are, you know, all billionaires, rich, you know, I don't know if that's who you're targeting, but I think a lot of them say things that will ultimately benefit their, you know, kind of their wallet and their causes, but may
mhm,
not be in the best interest for like, you know, like a normal person who's listening to them and like, you know, aspires to be like
mhm,
them, right? Like,
mhm, mhm.
so I don't know. I think
Okay.
it's always good to take what they say with a grain of salt, right?
Agreed. I think a lot of them do. A lot of them do say things to benefit themselves
Oh
financially. I
yeah.
think there's also a lot. I think there's also a lot of, hey, we're going to do this for the marketing buzz and the marketing effect to get more eyeballs on our brand. When really deep down, they don't give a shit. They're just using
Yeah,
it for a
I can.
marketing ploy.
And I don't get that kind of marketing. That's why, it's all over my head. I'm in B2B, so when I see these other guys do it, I'm like, what are they? I don't get it. Like, just over
I
my head.
I called a friend of mine. He owns a small business. He owns a small service business, and he's on. This is before the election, and he's on social media just blasting one side up and down, left and right. And I call him up. I'm like, "What are you doing, man?" I was like, "Have you not?" I was like, "Have you not noticed that 50% of the country it's 50-50? So
Oh yeah.
you're basically alienating, possibly alienating like half the people that might want to hire you. Like, why would you do that?"
It's true. I mean, it's people get very passionate about certain causes, and they tend to
Yeah.
lean and voice out on them. I mean, in my opinion, not diving into politics, I don't think any side is perfect, right? I think both
Right.
both
Yeah.
I think both sides have their issues. Yeah, some have their positives, and that are negatives for the other, and vice versa. But I think it's just sad that we've been so divided in this country over like, oh, like you voted for this person and not this person. And it's like I feel like people have just become so polarized that they
Yes.
don't they don't actually discuss the real issues, right? Like, which kind of doesn't matter, like kind of transcends both parties, right? I actually think the two-party system is horrible, and I think we should have more parties, and that would probably fix a
Mhm.
lot of things here. But again, that's a very controversial opinion. So
I like it though. I like it. Last thing I'll say on that topic. Last thing I'll say on that topic before we move to the next question is this: I was in a small town in New Mexico this last week, and my trailer broke down. Or I broke a spring underneath my trailer. I was pulling a
man.
trailer and outside of a small town. Make a long story short, this game warden pulls over, helps me get my trailer back to this town. Super nice guy. Just goes out of his way to help me get it rigged up and take it back. Then I go into this small town. I meet this little mechanic who it's a one horse town. The mechanic would talk to him, spend 4 hours with him while he's fixing my trailer, walk down the street in this little town to eat at the restaurant, meet the owner, and it's just good conversation all the way around, interesting people, very nice, all helped me get my stuff and get back on the road. What I found fascinating was, and what I was reminded by is that you meet people in person and nobody brings up any of this negative argument, my opinion this, my opinion that on whatever topic. There's none of that. Like I spent the whole day with those people and I couldn't tell you what their politics were, what their social beliefs were. Like none of that was discussed. But you go on social media and
Oh
everybody
yeah.
thinks that they got to just blast that shit out there. you know, and I found that fascinating. I don't know why social media makes people think that that's the gateway to say these things because it wasn't discussed when I met these folks in person.
That's
Okay,
a great thing you brought up. There's like all that beauty in actually meeting people in real life, right? I mean, I know with COVID,
yes,
we all haven't really able to, especially with new people, we haven't been able to connect just in person. But
yeah,
I think that's led people to go online almost and create these different personas on different
yeah,
channels where it's like you're identified based on like all these taggings almost. It's not like it's like you're identified based on tags like your views or
yeah.
your income or like this or that instead of like, actually just being a human being with another human being, which is so critical that, we know we've just been missing out on since COVID.
Totally agree. Shout out to Casey, the game warden down in New Mexico that helped me. Super nice guy. Okay, two more questions here. If um, if you could call the young man coming out of Colorado Springs before he chose Pennsylvania University, if you could tell him anything today based on what you know now, what would that be?
Um, hmm. I think I would tell him that, in his younger years, to not be so concerned about things that overall won't really like affect your life. Like, don't sweat it on the small stuff. Just enjoy your life and kind of you only live once, right? So like enjoy all the experiences you have, whether they're professional, personal, whatever, and really just take time to value really every day and your experiences with, everyone who you interact with on even a daily basis. Like, don't take any of that for granted.
Totally agree. By the way, do we only live once? I don't know. Don't we don't we get to go to another planet or something? Don't we get to try it again? I don't know.
I think, I was raised as a Hindu. I think I still am kind of a Hindu. I don't pray a
Okay.
ton, but I think
Okay.
we reincarnate in our culture and religion. So I kind of believe that. You know, I think
Yeah.
human is like, I'm probably wrong on this. I think human's the highest level of reincarnation, but I think yeah. So I don't know. I shouldn't
Yeah,
even
well,
talk.
well,
I'm not sure.
so that's okay. No, it's an interesting conversation. Uh, if this is the highest form, then damn, then that means I could come back next
Damn.
time as a frog or a dog or something. I don't know, but you know what? Maybe maybe that's easier. I don't know. Maybe that's easier.
Maybe it is easier, right? I mean, sometimes I see some of these dogs and I'm like, man, even my dog, I'm like, you have a great life. I mean, yeah, you have no free will or control, but you have a pretty nice, comfortable life.
Yeah, no joke. Yeah, for sure. Last question. If you could put your core purpose in life into a sentence, what would that sound like?
It's a really difficult question. I think your core purpose evolves over time, right? Because as I reflect on my life, I feel like every, honestly, looking back, every 4 years, I feel like I've changed so much. And,
Mm,
now at the age of 32, I'm very different than I was, four
right.
years ago and 4 years before that and so forth. I think where I'm at right now, I think the core purpose would be just to leave the planet at the end of my life, knowing that I made life better for, you know, like people, right? Um, and again, you can quantify that however. I don't know if it's number of people or like really impactful on one person, however, but like I think you should leave the planet at least having, just done this, been a good person, right? And just made things better for people, right?
Awesome. Vern, thank you so much for being on the Riderflex podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Steve. This was great. I really enjoyed this, and it was a pleasure talking to you. And yeah, I wish you guys at Riderflex all the best. I hope the business because keeps growing.
Same to you, my friend. I want you back on the show when you're up to 10 million. If you think today's tip or guest interview can help someone you know, please share this with them. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviewing. You can visit riderflex.com to learn more about us and get information and pricing on the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Thanks so much for listening and have a great day.